This is a fun episode of Heywood and Stuff. I enjoyed recording this episode very much. I speak with Fraser. We talk a lot about anxiety. We talk a lot about where that anxiety came from. He's lived a life with anxiety, but has developed an incredibly strong mental health ecosystem at the same time. The two can exist together. You'll see why and how. If you've ever struggled with anxiety or had bouts of anxiety, this is one for you. We also discuss a little bit about drug use. So disclaimer, if you're easily offended, sausages. And yeah, enjoy the episode. Don't forget to subscribe, for fuck's sake. 50% of you aren't subscribed, and ludicrous. Right, see you later. Welcome to Heywood and Stuff, where I dive deep into the human experience with humor and heart. Join me as I explore self-awareness, growth, and the stories of people who have overcome some of life's challenges. I'm here to share positivity, gratitude, but most importantly, me. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of it. Cheers. Hello.
Hi.
Miss you.
It's nice to have you back in the room.
Cheers.
Cheers, good man.
To the beginning of our podcast that we've been talking about for a while.
It's been a fair few months.
So I'm just going to jump straight into it. Just fucking go for it.
Dive in.
That's you. Looking good. Looking fresh.
Looking fresh.
So I was thinking earlier, I was like, how am I going to start this podcast with Fraser? Because we've spoken about like a few different things.
We've talked about a wealth of different subjects, from seaweed to mental health.
Yes. And I was kind of like summarizing my experience with having my interactions meeting you like the first few times.
Oh, with me.
Yeah. And the thing that I realized was how very quickly you were available in terms of sharing what's going on the inside. So what I mean by that is, like, very quickly on, you expressed that you struggled with anxiety at some point. I think it was like the third time I met you, and I bumped into you in the Tynemouth market, and we were laughing because so many fucking people are all around, and both in a place of like
to struggle.
Yeah, and I was there. I was in that place, and you mentioned it, and I think after that point, I was like, huh, because I see so much value in. I see strength in vulnerability, even though it's not necessarily vulnerable. I see it as a strength.
I have to totally agree with you on that one, because shutting that stuff away for me never worked.
Right.
When I was coming up, keeping it all inside and not putting it out there.
So do you find...
I felt a lot of people were unaware that they were poking things that they weren't aware they were poking.
Yeah.
So if you put things like that, if you're in like for me, if I'm comfortable enough with someone to start with, I just lay it out there.
Yeah, same.
Like, here we go. This is me.
Same.
I'm a batshit crazy. I'm got anxiety, but I'm also quite mentally strong.
Yeah.
And yeah,
that's exactly. There's a weird dynamic there. Like, if you've dealt with anxiety for however long, you become stronger mentally.
Yeah.
It's like the two can coexist together.
The sailors have the best saying for it, and it's in our bathroom wall with all the rest of our craziness that we have on our bathroom wall. It's a calm seas never made a good sailor.
Yeah, right.
And
you need to go through this shit.
You can apply that to every situation. If you're lucky enough to nail something the first time, cool. But how I've always learned is through the struggle and failure of attempting it. And that's from woodwork to relationships, you know?
So I guess, like, part of me is interested when did you start realizing that you've got struggles with things like anxiety?
I think I've always known to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Because I always knew I had problems with substances.
Oh, drugs.
Drugs?
Which ones?
Oh, all of them. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
There is all of them. In like when I was younger, and because I I'm going to big myself up here. I'm quite mentally strong. So I knew why I was doing these things. It's like, all right, I'm feeling quite uncomfortable. Let's get pissed.
Yeah.
Or my coping mechanism. And it was more about dealing with the way I dealt with what I knew coming up. And that came probably late 30s to early 40s.
And what is it that you knew that you were going to get anxious? Was it like foreseeing the situation?
Yeah, I could see an anxious, like I predetermine in my head, all right, that's just going to stress me out.
Yeah.
Going places, going socially.
Yeah.
It's going to stress me out. If I apply alcohol early,
yeah,
I'll be the bubbliest person when I get there. Me applying different things for different circumstances to make me.
I definitely relate, like 100%. As far as I can remember, before, I used to have to drink a certain amount before I could be in a social environment, because I knew that I wasn't even like super aware why I was doing it. Looking back, I just knew I had to get drunk to be in that environment. I never thought, because I didn't even realize I had an anxious issue until like my late 20s. But from being a teenager right up until then, I would have to drink before I'd put myself in a situation
in a social situation, or just anything that would make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And drugs as well.
Drugs, yeah.
So how far back did it go for you?
I mean, from early teens, for marijuana, started with marijuana. And I don't know if marijuana gave me the anxiety when I was young, because I was quite a shy child, believe it or not. I was quite shy. And then my social group changed and we got into the weed in Tynemouth, believe it or not.
Really?
Just hanging around in Tynemouth as kids when it was just all the local. Tynemouth wasn't the place back then. So we were just all like smoking weed and all, like a small group. And and I just had some bad experiences and I think it gave me a little bit of social anxiety about, everything's not just a nice little Tynemouth
bad
little world.
With people.
Yeah, just groups of
assholes.
Just assholes. So I just kind of retreated a little bit and then went in my own head for a while. And I didn't have any social circle for quite a while, for several years. It was just me.
At what age group? Like around
15s, 16s.
That's when you started just
going more in my head. I was still out. I was still out with my friends and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd completely disassociated internally with them. Like who I wasn't who they were experiencing anymore. They were experiencing the Fraser that they'd always known.
Because so you were masking it.
I was just masking it.
And so like when did you become aware that you were doing that?
I was aware of it immediately.
Oh, you were?
I was aware of it. It's like, all right. Because that peer pressure was like, all right, you're coming out. And because back then, it was just, they were knocking on your door. It wasn't like, texting. Are you coming out? No, I'm washing my hair. Yeah. Well, you couldn't hide behind that social media, right? It was just, if you wanted to know where everyone was, you just check all the bikes outside the house.
Yeah, right.
Or where you go, people knew where you were because you were in the house. So they'd just come knock on your door and you'd, all right, I'll smoke the weed or I'll get into this or whatever. So I knew that. And that's one of the reasons I left, went to Camden, and did what I did and developed more of a just, I don't give a fuck attitude.
What do you mean?
Like, this is me. No, I learned to say no more.
Yeah.
To social. No, I'm not going. It sounds really thrilling and exciting, but I'm not going because I'm not going to put myself through a ringer.
It's weird, isn't it? How it takes you, like, you have to go so far in your life before you can actually just start saying no and feel confident.
No's a powerful thing. No's a very powerful.
And like, I feel like no should be a tool that is given to you when you're a kid, right? You should be able to become an adult and be confident with your no. But so many of us are yes people. And it's not like a weak thing. It's like not wanting to disappoint or feeling the pressure. Like I only started saying no in my like mid-30s.
when I was like, I need more no's for my own fucking sanity, for my own mental health.
Mm.
And even now, sometimes I can slip into the accidental yes and then go, shit, now I have to
Well,
figure out how to turn
point
it to a
in
no.
fact, trying to set up this podcast,
Yeah.
the both of us, no, it's not going to work out this day.
Yeah.
And it's been, what, 3 months?
Yeah.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Just trying to,
But
hey, we're
it's
doing it? Yeah, well, let's do it. Day before.
No.
Nope, that's not happening.
Yeah.
It's because I'm just, or you'd be like, no, I'm just not there. And
Not
or
in the
I'll
right
be
place.
coming back from where, or work will have spun me out a little bit. You know?
It's
Just like, you get that, no,
yeah,
I'm just not going to be there.
I sometimes question, like, because I'm always like watching my mental health, like, is it getting better or worse? And because it's so much like that, it's like it goes in waves where I could be like having a great week, a great month, and then suddenly it's like, fuck, I've gone back to being in this like depressive state. And then I'm like, am I saying no more often now, going like, oh, I can't do it. Every single person that I've had on this podcast, I've had to postpone like once or twice.
Yeah,
And then on reflection, I look back and I'm like, am I getting better? or am I being like more honest with myself and it's just really that bad? Like, I don't know.
I'd say the more in control of your nose, the better you actually are. If you're not forcing yourself to do things that you just don't want to do.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
That's what it should be all about.
Yeah.
I mean, if everyone had that gift, fair enough, there's not a lot that would get done around the world because of people that would just take the piss out of that. And there is people that take the piss out of that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to have a job, I'll just be on benefit a lot. And they're all like, oh, poor society screwed us. No, it's just you've chosen. Well, that's fair enough. You do you.
Yeah.
You do you. If job's on for you or whatever, right? But also there's your end of it, where this is an intense situation. It's a one-on-one situation, and you've got to be tuned in a little bit, or at least have the willingness to open up. It's a podcast about opening up, and if you're not feeling in the mood about opening up, let's put a checker on that. You know?
I think you're right, and I sometimes look at the podcast and I go like, you know, it's all fine and dandy now, like asking your mates to come on the podcast and talk about important things that I find important. And I generally gravitate towards people where I feel like safe with them, right? But like, what if in 2 years' time I've got like some fucking celebrity guy and then I'm like, I can't just say no. Or can I?
Yeah,
I don't know. I wish I could, but it's like if they're scheduled in.
Well, no, if you're booking, once you start getting to that level and you're booking, you may have to recheck what you're doing.
Yeah.
And get it under wraps a bit more. But I mean, you've got to start. And this is how you start. You build your foundation's got to be pretty strong. And having people like me on, which is your friend, I've got no real general expertise in any mental health. I'm flapping around in the wind like most people.
Yeah.
And I'm just flapping around in the wind with, you know, I've taken my mental health issues and I treat them like hey, there you go.
But you say you're flapping in the wind, but your experience is 100% real.
Oh, absolutely.
It's as valid as the next person.
Yes, I see that.
Do you know what I mean?
But
and like just to like raise your praises a little bit, you're open to talk about it.
Well, that's
a lot. Like I've asked a lot of people that I know, like, oh, do you want to come on the podcast? And like, I'm gonna talk about mental health. Like that's kind of my shtick. And then they're just like, oh no, I don't want to. Which is 100% fine. But then I wonder, it's like, because they're not ready or because they don't want to or they're not comfortable.
A lot of people go through their whole life and never discuss it with their friends group. And they just won't. They'll discuss it behind closed doors with their significant other, their mother, or maybe
or
their
not
dog,
even,
or the parrot, or never, and they'll bolt that up, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
If they're ticking boxes and that's the way they're living their life, that's okay. I think I mentioned it the other day that if you're running around and you're just joy, happiness. And I've said this a couple of times over the past 3 or 4 days. If you're joy, happiness, beaming rays of sunshine out your ass 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's definitely something wrong with you.
Yeah.
There's definitely something going on in your head that's slightly broken.
The old me would want to disagree with that, but I think you're probably right.
The honest factor is you cannot maintain happiness all the time. It's impossible. It's incredibly trying. It's incredibly difficult to do. And the amount of work that goes into it to do that is so hard, mentally draining, that it's quite apparent then. For me, this is my only observation for people that I know that just beam happiness all the time.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, there's not a lot of them.
There's not a great deal of them, but there is a fair few. But I know, you can see them sometimes and you just glance at them and they don't know anyone's looking in that situation. And they're like,
and you catch it,
and
and
it's just off.
Yeah.
Like the button's been turned off. And it's like, they're just like, and then they've noticed someone's, hey, and you're like, ooh.
That's not right.
It's not right.
But I've been that person as well.
How do you approach that with people? Or do you even need to approach that with people? Or is it just, just give them a hug and say, it's all good, man.
What do you do?
It's all good.
If you see one of your friends do that, then...
It's hard to question people when they're happy. It's easier to approach someone.
How do you really feel?
It's easier to approach someone when you can genuinely see they're sad and upset.
Yeah.
Like sometimes a little hug will just change that whole vibe, and they're like, "All right, it's going to be okay." No matter what it is, if you say it's going to be okay and give someone a hug, if it's appropriate, it'll generally help and start them on a little path. It's a little pebble to get a little bit happier.
Yeah.
Right. But if they're genuinely happy and you go over and they're just bumbling around being happy and you go, oh, it's going to be all right. People are going, what the hell?
Yeah, right.
How do you do?
You might have read them wrong.
I was explaining to my, and I'm going to mention my brother yesterday, who's had, like myself, and I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning it, a very similar struggle with anxiety, a bit older, just trying to change, everything's changing, and he got a little bit down, and he's figured it out that he was doing the quite highs and the very lows, and the quite highs and the very lows, and he within himself has found a way of just not flattening that board out, because he tried flattening that board out and there was no joy in it for him. There was no joy. There was no. It didn't feel like a real road.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a proper forward path. And now he's taken that little edge off, and he's just, I'm not happy all the time, but I'm not sad all the time.
But you accept both, right?
The happy isn't happy, and the sad isn't sad. It's just, it's disappointment. It's learning. Every day is for me anyway, every day is a new opportunity to learn and improve on what's going on in my mental head.
I was going to say, with the level of awareness that you've got about your own mental health, how proactive are you about
every day
making it better?
Every single day. Every single day.
And what does that look like to you?
Sometimes it's a coffee, open the back door if it's sunny, and just stand there and go, it's
give yourself
not bad.
Yeah.
A little bit of headspace. And that'll take, and other times it's let's convince ourselves we're going to have a good day. Yeah, I'm just not into it. I much prefer to stay in bed because it's bloody cold, but I'm getting out of bed, put my shoes on, gonna make the bed, gonna move forward and just forward motion. I'm not going to dwell on the nightmare that happened yesterday at work because that kept me awake last night. I'm not doing that today. That's not happening today. Put that in its place. It's putting things, for me, it's always about putting the negative stuff in their place, and then not so much throwing a positive spin on it, but then having something positive to think about to counterbalance. So, I'm not ridding the negative. It's still there. I can think about it, but I mentioned the work things because occasionally I'll screw something up at work so bad that it's a money coster. But then that'll never happen for me. For me, that won't happen again. I won't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
That's the way I learn at work. So that's the positive spin I put on that negative at work. Like, well, that won't happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
Cool.
exactly the same with that. And I've actively told people, I'm like, at past jobs, if they make a mistake, I'm like, it's great that you made a mistake. We need to make mistakes to learn from,
Yeah.
to move forward.
And it is a bit of a cliche. That's how we progress as a human species.
Yeah. And I'm a person that makes the same mistake twice a lot. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, but I'll definitely not make it again.
Yes.
Like, I think gratitude and like just learning from your experience is important. With your mental health, I imagine that you speak very openly about it with Imogen, your partner.
Terrified of her. She has a counselor next. I talk very openly with her.
Right.
But she's got such a she was a youth child counselor
Right.
back in the day, and she kept up. She's got all that. I'm not exactly sure, so I won't comment. And she'll tell me.
I'll put it in the subtitles underneath.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Fraser doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about at this point. But she's done a lot of reading up and all that with her job and all that sort of stuff. So she's quite a good one to bounce something off if I'm feeling it.
How valuable is that?
Oh, it's priceless.
Mm.
It is a priceless thing. But I found that I can do that with a lot of my friends anyway. I
Nice.
found now, and it's happened organically that I have had a good look since we started talking about this podcast and me looking at your podcast. I've had a look about my friend circle, and I have surrounded myself with people that are kind of I'm very comfortable saying, "Oh, I'm having a fucking nightmare here," and expect an intellectual and a very intelligent emotional response back, not a let's go to the pub and have a beer, which that works too sometimes.
Yeah.
But also like, oh, right, cool. Very aware of what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's
helped me immeasurably.
Yeah.
I mean, I have anxiety about all sorts of stuff. And I have a lot of my anxiety now comes from my physical state.
Really? But
let's face it. I'm in my 50s.
Yeah.
I do heavy work.
Yeah.
And I'm
physical labor, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how fit I am. I'm just breaking down.
You feel it.
I feel my ability to do it. It's getting like I can still do the job, but it costs me more.
And that in itself, is that a cause of anxiety?
It causes me anxiety because
I relate. I relate because it's weird because it's only been the past year where I've I'm 39, right? I've noticed already at 39 that I'm not like I was when I was 29. And like I start thinking, shit, I need to look after myself more. But then
you should always look after yourself, but once you start noticing it, it should be a proactive thing then, not like a thing that you just do. You should start chasing it a little bit. So
what stops us from going sober, going to the gym, eating a clean diet, living the a lifestyle that we know will serve us more?
Joy. Really? Joy.
Yeah.
There's got to be some joy in your life.
But is that not where you place joy?
My personal health, I feel I'm okay. I'm physically wearing down, but I think it's at a natural state. Yeah. I'm in my 50s. I shouldn't really, at this point, be throwing around 250-pound oak beams. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And even the younger people that I work with look at me like, what are you doing? And it's ego for me. It's trying to, and I can't help myself sometimes but do it, even though I should be going, can I have a hand with this? It's because I used to be able to do it in my sleep 10 years ago, and my ego then gives me the anxiety.
Really?
It's like the ego at work. Oh, just getting it done. I don't like asking for help at work because this is my job. I should be able to do it, and if I can't do it, but no one at work would give a shit about helping me.
I was going to say, what would happen if you...
They wouldn't care. They wouldn't care.
If you bypassed your ego and asked for help.
Yeah.
Would that not rid the anxiety?
That's where the anxiety comes in. It's asking for help and then being less a little bit. And it is. I'll put it down to a little, it's ego and also just stubbornness. I'm quite stubborn as far as that is concerned. But I have dialed it down to, quite luckily, only work 2 days a week now.
Yeah.
But I do the work as if I do the work that they do in a week because of my ego.
Yeah.
And it's kind of counterproductive.
So do you feel like does your mental health and ego have like is there a relationship there?
There's a little, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Like depending how they're...
Yeah, absolutely.
One's connected with the other.
My ego's wrapped up with everything. It's how you perceive yourself, you know, how you perceive everyone. And you just, if you have it, I can do it, and then you can't do it, your ego takes a little chip.
Yeah. And
then if you have any type of mental health struggle, that goes in that little mental health struggle box, and then it'll pop up later on. And for me, it'll come back. But I'm aware of it, so I am dealing with it slowly. I'm transitioning out of it. And it's that, and I'm not sure if I could wrap it up into a mental health problem, or is it just a getting old problem?
Yeah.
Is it just a getting old problem?
Or
is it because
dealing with your ego that's not serving you, is that in itself a mental health problem?
That is a mental health problem.
Is it?
For me,
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
Because that's fucking interesting when you start going like, is my ego a mental health problem?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Is ego like how mental is your ego? I mean, is your ego
your
persona?
It used to be quite big. I'm like, we've talked off camera on several different occasions where we'd be the party guy going, yeah, I'll do that. Throwing themselves over the fire, right? That's ego.
Yeah.
That's
ego.
It
is ego.
That's ego. It's like, I'll be the guy that straps himself to the top of the car.
The madness is that, and I feel like we both have this, is that we're driven by our ego, but then we're aware of it. So we even say in the moment, like,
what is happening?
Yeah,
here?
like,
why am I doing
like,
this?
I know this is bullshit and it's not serving me, but here I am doing it.
Yes. And I think because we do it and we surround ourselves with people that go, yeah, it feeds that little ego.
Yeah.
Then the people that we surround ourselves, then in our heads, in our brains, expect that level.
Yeah, and it justifies
from you because they don't know who the fuck you really are. Because you keep providing these, he's a brilliant guy. And you're just like, I'm going, fuck me, I survived that.
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
I think that's why I fell in love with Briggy so deeply, because no matter what ego bullshit I presented, it never hit home with her. It never she didn't. It's almost like she didn't see it
through it.
Yeah.
Just like, move that curtain of stupidity out the way.
It never landed with her. I don't know if it's because of her autism, like she didn't comprehend it, or if she just saw right through it. But that allowed me to be like, fuck, I've just got to be me with her.
Your missus, your wife, your little part of wonderfulness has looked at me several times at the market, and I've just gone, ooh, shit. She can see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I've been like, at the market.
Yeah.
With 1 billion people around, right? And I've come up, and I'm like, hey, how's it going, guys? And she's just looked at me like, and I'm going, fuck, she knows exactly what I'm doing here. I'm putting this screen on to make it to the market for the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like
she tells me
she told
me the other day that she was she had a long line of people, and then she was like, and then Fraser came around and was like, hey, how you doing? And then I looked at him, he's like, oh, okay, I'll come back later. And I was like, You accidentally gave him a look.
That just like,
She can't hide it either, bless her. Like she.
oh no, it's
I know
it's all there. It's great. I think she's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I'm blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all blessed.
I think so. I mean, I think
In my little world, I mean, it's another side effect. I think. Let's roll that one back. I grew up in a house full of women.
same.
A house full of them, women.
Yeah.
And they're women that they had around them. And then they're women and aunties and sisters and stuff. And there was quite a lack of male influence. And I, as a child, I was quite terrified most of the time because the women that I grew up with, my mother and my two sisters, were powerful.
Yeah.
They were dominant women, like alpha women.
Okay.
The women that are now my friends and my confidants, like, you're my friend, Brig, Ermi, Ollie, Imogen, Nat.
Yeah.
Powerful, strong women,
Yeah.
like with a no bullshit type, not social media,
No, I know
none
what
of
you
that
mean.
crap. Just
So do you feel like you're drawn towards?
it's not
like,
I'm drawn towards. I'm very happy of that state.
around.
I'm happy that
Do you feel more comfortable around women
I
than
feel
men?
more comfortable around powerful women.
Yeah. No, me too.
Absolutely.
I prefer the company of women than men.
Yeah.
And it took me up until a couple of years ago to realize that. Like, I prefer being with women than men for probably a lot of reasons, but it definitely stems from like growing up around
growing
women.
up. Yeah, I'm very, very comfortable around most.
Like I know,
most women.
I know how to navigate female friendships a lot more than male friendships, because male friendships.
It's not a territory that I really have. Thought about that much, but I'm totally in agreement with you. I'm very comfortable about being around women who know their shit.
Yeah,
women that are confused, lost in social media and all that.
Yeah,
fill me with a strange kind of dread and fear. Just like, oh,
what is it?
I don't know. That's just the world that they live in is so poisonous to me that it's almost like
I can't understand it.
I can't understand it. I don't get it.
Do you feel like you
lost their own power?
Yeah.
They're just flopping around, like the power that just at birth you were born a woman. Holy fuck! Dun, dun, dun. The world is yours.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I feel comfortable with women regardless of where they're at in their own thing. But I've always felt like I can be more myself with women straight off the bat than I can with men. Because as soon as I meet a new, this is like for me, if I meet a new bloke, suddenly it's like, oh, do I have to? There's this like pigeon chest type of mentality. It's like, do I have to prove myself? Will I be accepted? Will I be this? Will I be that? Whereas with women, it's like they've I don't know, maybe it's like feminine energy or something. There's like a more accepting thing from women. With me than from men. I've always I'm thinking faster than I can speak. I've had more problems with men in my life than I have with women. And I've had more men not like me than women. Yeah. But that was before, when I was masking a lot and I was like, I don't know, men never really liked me very much.
I'm not a big fan of men either. But I mean, I'll tell you right now, and I'm not a genius, I'm not an expert, your issue with men probably becomes from the fact that they feel slightly threatened by the fact that you are so comfortable with women.
Yeah, maybe.
And most men strut around like alphas, trying to have that caveman approach to women.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like, that wouldn't help.
Yeah.
It definitely wouldn't
help.
And,
you know, if they're significant of theirs,
that never
Heywood's such a great guy. And they're just like,
Yeah.
The fuck did you just say?
Yeah, yeah.
We only met him 3 or 4 times. What are you talking about? You know, like, oh, he's so intelligent and
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And, you know,
I just always find that women were so much more like, I don't know,
Mm.
less ego driven.
Some of them.
Some of them. Okay, let's get back to I might have to have a piss stop actually. Do you need a piss?
We could talk about that.
I'm going to pause it.
5 minutes later.
Hi, Fraser.
Hello.
How are you?
Fucking wonderful.
Lovely.
Lovely.
So I want
living
to
a
talk to
dream.
you. I want
Full
to
of
talk
dream.
to you.
No.
I want to talk to you, Fraser.
No.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about aging, but before we do, I want to go backwards. And it's a mental health question.
Okay. That's all we have for.
At what part of your journey up until now? It's a heavy question, by the way. We're going to go in. When was? I just realized how heavy it actually is. But so when was your darkest moment? At what age? Up until now, at what point was it like, this is, looking back, can you say this was the struggle, the hardest part?
That's rough. That's rough. It's like cheese.
If you please.
That's the cheese grater question right there. Right along the side of the brain. I've had several. When I realized my coping drug mechanism was now all of my personality.
Unpack that. What do you mean?
When I realized that my coping mechanism for everything that was going on in my head, the drugs that I was using, the cocaine, you know, when I realized that was out of hand and it had supplanted who I was with Cocaine Fraser, who everyone knew, and no one knew anyone different but Cocaine Fraser, because it was a hidden addiction for a lot of people. And for a lot of the other friends that I'd surround myself with, it was just Cocaine Fraser. Once I realized that it was no longer something I was in control of, it was just, that's who I was.
How old were you, like, around this point?
Early 30s.
Early 30s.
And I'd been doing it quite a long time.
So like
once it transitioned from fun time drug use to full time.
Yeah.
And there's quite a story behind that as well, because I broke my pelvis.
Okay.
And I was put on to, it never became a problem in this country, but in Canada, there was a drug called Oxycontin. And I was placed on Oxycontin to cope with the pain and became heavily addicted to Oxycontin. Realized that and got off Oxycontin by placing myself on cocaine, which was obviously one nightmare transferred for another. It became a knife edge moment for me once I woke up again to, right, this is.
So how long were you doing it for?
On and off, probably 12 years.
And when did it become, I mean, some would argue it's a problem from the beginning, but when did it become a problem?
9 of them years were just lost.
Yeah.
To
drug use.
That wasn't me. I was still a fully functioning member of everything I was doing. So work-wise, I was still functioning. Family, I was giving 40% to, you know. Everyone was getting just what they needed to not start really questioning, but no one was getting 100% of who I am. So and even I wasn't.
So where's the turning point? At what point did you think, shit, the madness has to stop?
Well,
something has to change.
There wasn't a particular moment. It was over about 6 months it changed. It wasn't an individual moment that made that change for me. It was just things were going bad. There was bad people. There was more bad people, bad situations. Job was starting to take a hit. Family life was going right down the hill. It's, I've mentioned before, I'm quite mentally strong, even though I'd kind of surrendered to that and it doesn't seem quite strong. I felt the whole time I was in control, but I'd started in that 6 months transition, started to realize that I'd woke up basically to the fact that I wasn't in control. It wasn't me. And then a small part of me was like tapping on the back of my brain going, "Oh, I'm here. What the fuck are you doing to yourself?" People are starting to. I was quite heavily into the scene, let's put it that way, without like incriminating myself too badly. It wasn't just a cocaine habit. It was a cocaine world I was in.
Yeah.
With everything that entails.
But like, regardless of the world, it's that
I needed to. I made a mental. Literally, one morning, just went, "I got to worm out of this," and I spent about 6 months just worming out of it, and got out of it. And
how do you do that?
Just sheer willpower.
No, I mean, like, what does that look like?
What does it look like? It's horrible. It's messy. It's disgusting.
But does that mean like changing? I mean, obviously, like drug use is one thing, but how do you get yourself out of that situation?
Well, by that
changes
point,
have to be made?
By that point, it was everyone I knew was in. Everyone I knew, everyone I liked had gone because they didn't want to be part of the shit show, the train wreck. You know, because drug use is bad.
Yeah.
No matter how well you mask it, you end up burning the people.
Yeah, right.
The good people you end up burning because they're good people, so you start using them. And it's part of the negativity that surrounds drugs. Some drugs, anyway. So you end up burning them. The good people clue in, and because they're good people, they have to separate themselves from you. And just, yeah, it became such a mentally knowing. I'd still see these people, and they'd be, "You all right?" Gone, but they'd shut off. They weren't open anymore to me. Yeah. They were, "Hi, how are you doing? Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine." The act, they'd acknowledge it, but then they'd separate quickly. And it just, I guess it just, my mental fortitude broke. And it was just, you've got to deal. You've got to.
And this was in Canada?
Oh, yeah. You've got to put yourself, everyone that you know currently in your life is not good.
Yeah.
And they won't even miss you if you're gone, you know?
No, yeah. And it's like, to some point you can understand that, right? If they've only seen, like, as you put it, like Cocaine Fraser, that's the person that they think you are, because that's what you've presented to them.
Exactly.
And so, you know, you can't blame them for not knowing who's actually behind that. I think that's part of the tragedy of people that struggle with drugs, is that they often get seen for being who they are on drugs, and they don't see the person behind struggling on drugs. You know what I mean?
I do actually know completely. I still know people to this day who are, they can't go anywhere near it. They just don't have that, and they know immediately, like, it's over for them if they go. Even like, it's like alcohol, have a beer. Let's get on the crazy train again and crash your life.
Yeah,
you know. And other people,
I say that. Yeah, I say this to Brig, and I say this like openly. I have to be careful if I go out for drinks in like a town environment where I'm in a bar or a club. I have to be careful who I'm with. Not that that's happened for a long fucking time, but I have to be careful who I'm with, because by pint 5 or 6, I'm like, should we get a bag?
Bring it.
Shall we do it?
Bring it.
And if someone, God forbid, has it, I am not going to refuse it.
Yeah. And
that's regardless of how much I love Briggy and Bella, because I'm not thinking about family times. I'm thinking about getting fucked up. Because I'm transported back to, you know, my issues, I guess.
For me, I think I assumed I was addicted. And it's turned out I was shockingly not addicted. And I can dabble in anything now, because my mental strength is that way. Like, throw something down the table. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
It won't be consciously in my mind anymore because it's not the people I've surrounded myself with. It was more, I was drawn into it. And I assumed I was addicted.
Yeah.
And I kind of probably was to a certain degree, but it wasn't a physical.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a physical. Because when I turned it off like a tap.
Yeah.
It was done. And there was a very, very short down period. And it was mostly
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and you change the relationship with drugs once you do some of the work on yourself, right?
Yeah. I got a fairly good relationship with drugs now. You know, I'll dabble in whatever.
Yeah.
But it has to be the circumstances.
Yeah, you have to
be right.
If
I'm at a festival and we're going to see, all right, tonight we're going to the rave tent. We're going to rave all night.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Throw it at me. Let's go.
But it has to be planned.
Yeah. Oh,
prepared.
Yeah.
Controlled.
There has to be some kind of stops and gaps. And Imogen, my partner, bless her cotton socks, not had her. I'm sure she won't mind, and if she will, I'm sure
I'll take it out.
you'll take it out. But she's had her own demons with drugs.
Yeah.
And when she turned it off like a tap too, and just won't. Full stop.
Yeah.
And never has.
Because she knows
nothing.
It's a non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, right.
It's non-negotiable for her.
Yeah.
But
I get that.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't done A-class drugs since. So when I was 32, I went sober for 4 years. And I haven't done A-class drugs since then. So probably since I was 32. I'm pretty sure. But I still know that if I was with the right or wrong people, depending how you look at it, and I was offered a line, I mean, I know that I've been drunk since drinking again a few years ago, that I've been saying, like, has anyone got any?
Oh, really?
Because I just had a little bit too much. But luckily, like, I haven't gone there.
Your checks and balances have kicked in.
Yeah, but I wonder if I'm a bit like Imogen, where I'm probably better off not doing it. Oh, having said that, like I was never like an habitual drug taker with cocaine. I don't know. Okay, so that was gone.
I like ecstasy, MDMA.
Well, that's a bit more manageable. That's a bit more manageable.
It's a party drug, and it doesn't.
You can have a night on ecstasy.
You can have a night.
You're unlikely to take the rest tomorrow.
Yeah, you're not like, I've got this left.
Yeah,
gonna do that and go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It's like, yeah. I mean, at my age, I probably shouldn't be, but yeah, occasionally, absolutely. Okay. And I don't see any harm with that now because it is such a pre-planned thing now for me to do things like that.
But you know, MDMA has been used in
MDMA just for starters for mental health.
Yeah. There's a lot of benefits
and microdosing and just helping you out and all that. That's a whole different podcast that we can do.
Yeah, I would love to be able to convince myself to microdose MDMA.
Oh man, just
because I think you'd have a fucking great day. I think you'd have a really great. Like I microdose psilocybin, like mushrooms, right? And that's good. And like I'll take 5 milligrams of Ritalin every now and then, and that's like essentially high grade amphetamine, like really good speed. But if I could convince myself to microdose MDMA,
oh man.
Okay, Fraser, we've done the past. Went a bit. Well, we skimmed.
We skimmed the past. Yeah, well, it's probably for the best if we don't go too far down that road.
We're in the final leg of our episode today. As an older gentleman, and as the eldest gentleman that's been on Heywood and stuff, which I'm joyous about.
You're joyous about it?
I am.
You can remember me when I'm gone with this podcast.
Well, hopefully it won't be for a while.
This old man.
But my point is, we touched on getting older and the aging process, and you were saying how like your ego is kind of connected and you know, at work you feel like you're getting older. What is the experience like? How old are you? Because you're not that fucking old.
53.
53. Okay, so you're not that fucking old.
I've had a hard life.
You've been through it.
It's
You've
been a rough milk round.
done stuff.
It's been a rough milk round. When I went to school, they used to pat me down. They used to pat everyone down in the school, make sure you didn't have a weapon.
Right.
And if you didn't have one, they gave you one. It was rough back then.
Right. So you've had a life.
I've had a bit of a life, yeah, and I've had this. I mean, they say scars. It's a good real reminder. I've forgotten how I've got a lot of those scars. You know, it's just like, yeah, I've lived quite a lot of life for 53.
Okay.
I've crammed that shit in there.
So where you're at now,
Yeah.
Where
am I now? Is I'm quite comfortable with it now. And I say the ego gets affected a lot, but I think it's more like an acceptance. It's your ego takes a little hit, then the acceptance comes quite quickly. For me, it does anyway. It's like, ooh, can't do that anymore. Ego goes, and then I go, but I am 53.
Is there some freedom in that?
I shouldn't really be doing it in the first place. You know, there's very, unless you're on like some kind of wild fitness regime, I back myself quite a lot.
Yeah.
Against other 53-year-olds in like a heavy work scenario. Yeah. I'm just quite driven.
Is there some like mental freedom in that, like being able to accept like, oh, I can't do that anymore, but it also doesn't matter?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of mental freedom in that. And it's very getting used to that. And it's very fresh to me. It's only been very recently that this is
what self-acceptance.
The self-acceptance about aging is coming. So past 2 years, maybe.
Do you feel like you're
now this year?
Do you feel like you're more self-accepting as a whole more now than you were when you were younger?
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's nice.
Absolutely.
So do you see the irony there? Like as we get older, we can do less, but we're more accepting of who we are than when we were in our 20s and we could do fucking anything we wanted to.
That's why I'm as a society as a whole, we somehow derailed this whole the way things should be in my mind, my mental, the way I think in my perfect world. There's a particular scenario where the elderly raise our kids because of the experience and the calmness and the self-acceptance that they have rubs off on the, you know, like we're flapping around like you're 23, 24, 25, 26, whatever.
Yeah.
You've got a kid, you're flapping around in the wind and your kid, and no matter how hard you try, your child picks up on that.
Yeah.
And, you know, and if,
that's why grandparents are such a fucking blessing for the grandchildren.
When society used to have that, we'd go off, do our thing. You'd have your elderly around you because of the calmness, the experience,
which you can only have by having a lifetime of experience,
and it rubs off on your kids. And there's now, I mean, but society's now a strange scenarios where 35-year-olds are grandparents. It's like, I don't understand how that's happened.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
like,
kids.
How can you be?
Kids.
And you're the wise person in the family. You haven't even done, you're flapping around being crazy yet.
Yeah, and I don't, you don't have families sticking puts like they used to. Everyone's darting around around the world. So you don't have grandparents
like
always raising grandchildren.
Yeah, the central figures, and a lot. I mean, there's still a lot of societies that do that.
That do what?
That have that core.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all over the place. It's West, and it's Western societies that's completely derailed and gone right into Crazyville.
We exchange capitalism for family values.
The world's gone mad.
Yeah, the first world's gone mad.
First world's lost. It's done. It's over. It's fighting so bad now to keep a hold of its dominance that it's acting in a crazy way. There's crazy things happening in the name of first world and freedom and stuff that just should never be happening. And it wouldn't have happened as close as 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It peaked. It peaked that commercial dominance has peaked, and the curtain's been ripped aside. And there's so many people can see it now.
I think that's why
it's traumatic.
I try to stay like optimistic, and I think like now is as bad as it can get. But there's like there's an awareness, right? Like more and more people are becoming aware. I had this conversation earlier with Sean, the guy that owns this bar down the road called Cork. Yeah. Cheese and deli place. It's very good.
Cheese and deli.
It's amazing, actually. I'll have to edit this bit now. Fuck. So
keep
it's
it
a
in.
wine. It's a wine bar.
It's a
actually.
fucking cheesery.
Do crepes Suzette.
If you don't like the
cheese sandwich,
take you out the back and beat you with a baguette.
Beat you with a knee down.
Fucking, I'll roll a knee down right over your knee.
Cheddar up your ass.
All right, keep that bit in. The fun cheddar bit.
Keep the lot. What were we saying? What were we saying?
I don't know. You've talking about some cheese guy.
Sean's a good bloke. He's going to come on. He's going to come on the podcast.
That's awesome. Can you remember what you were talking about?
What were we talking about? The state of the world, right?
Oh, the state of the world. And
Fraser,
I have promised.
You can't remember. That's why.
I have promised myself.
What were we talking about?
Since we agreed to come on this podcast, Heywood, I have promised myself that I will not go down any of the crazy fucking wells that my brain has led me down in the past 4 years, because I have 14.
What were we just talking about?
I have 14 different tinfoil hats, mate. And they all involve the degradation of modern society and the world collapsing.
We were talking about something specifically. Do you remember?
No, I've got a clue.
World's mad.
The world's mad. That's generally what we were talking about. You should really bring notes.
I can't. I've tried. I've tried doing notes.
It would ruin the fluidity.
You know, when every time I do a podcast, I make sure that there's a few points that I want to talk about, and then I just allow it, just see where it goes. And we've already done them, so it's like the rest is a free for all.
Go for it. I don't know. When you're editing this,
getting older,
it's a wonderful thing. It's shocking.
Tell me.
It is shockingly wonderful. The freedom that comes with knowing, like, what you do know. Everything that you've gone through, knowing that you don't have to go through that shit again, that learning curve, you know? Like, oh my God, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
There's so much of that by the time you get older.
Yeah. That
you can see that 10 moves ahead.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Yeah.
So, it's not a nice question, but then why do you still struggle with anxiety?
I still struggle with anxiety because
and I say that with love.
No, I struggle with it because a lot to do with the fact that I am quite self-deprecating when I'm alone. And then I want to present.
Yeah.
It's not even a mask. It's just like, right, I want to present the best version of me, but then I also don't care.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I literally do not give a fuck. I mean, you know me. I don't really give a fuck. If you follow any of my socials, you'll realize that fairly quickly that I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But there is quite a lot of me that wants to present the best version of me.
So where's the anxiety rooted? What's the
right
root?
in there?
What's the root? Right.
It's in there. The anxiety bit is.
Yeah.
Well, is that the best version of you? Calling a whole group of people. So for every post I put up on social media or something, I try, unless it's just winged out there, which I do quite a lot, wing them out, but they all come down quite quickly.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do you post and then take it down?
Yeah,
sometimes
all the time.
Really?
10 times a day.
Really?
If I'll be hear something on the radio, I'll be like, react. And then I'll be like,
I've done that before.
fuck, I can't really say that.
I've done that.
It's not genuine. It's
Yeah.
an emotional reaction of what you've just heard
Yeah.
from someone who's worded it in such a way to get that reaction out of you, Fraser.
So
what are you doing?
So you'll take it down because
it's
better.
It's not my genuine feeling.
Funny.
It's not my genuine feeling. It's my emotional reaction to being triggered by someone who's literally paid to go and trigger you.
Yeah.
That's what TV and media do. They're paid to trigger you into a certain state of mind. And if you're a bit of a weaker person, you'll continue that state of mind on, and you'll believe that for the rest of your life, even if someone points out, oh, that was actually a lie. Total bullshit. No. Me, I'm just like, oh, that's bullshit. And then I'll be like, oh, fuck, I've been triggered by that. And
you don't want to present that side of you.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the triggered side. And I don't want to. So then I'll go and then I'll research whatever I've been triggered about. I'll go and then I'll repost a bit later on. It might be days later.
Yeah, my
actual feeling on it. And it might be just as virile.
It's just funny, isn't it? It's funny because that automatic reaction is still authentic. It's just that once you've given yourself some time, you're like, that's not actually how I want to be.
Yeah.
And that's not how I feel about it now. Like there is space for both of them. It's just social media is a weird thing because people take everything for face value. Like you can have like a triggered response comment, and then someone will go, "Oh, that's you," and it's like, no, actually, that's just my triggered response. Me, there's a whole 95% of me that is aware of that 5%. It's like, how do you share that? How do you share that and let people know? Actually, that's just a part of me. That's,
I've got good friends that DM me. Imogen, for instance. What the fuck have you just put up? What do you mean? No, you should be like, you can't put that up. That's not even how the way you think about that. I'll be like, I'll go back and read it and go, actually,
it's difficult.
Completely untrue. It's like, ugh.
For anyone that's struggling with mental health, and they're in the pits of it, in the dark part,
standard response: it's all going to be okay.
Yeah,
it's all going to be okay. There's nothing. Money's nothing. Money's something that the world puts in your head to fucking flap you around the world. Happiness is that some of the happiest people in the world have absolutely fuck all.
But so what if they're in the pits of it, but it's not money related? That it's just that their mental health.
Their mental health.
Or if they've if they're in the pits of a drug problem.
Drug problem.
I'm not talking about. Well, yeah, just a drug problem. It's difficult with drugs.
It's hard for me personally to. Everything's going to be okay. It's a standard response, but you have to. If you're a drug addict and you're suffering from, and you're aware that you're suffering, you've already taken that first step. You're aware you're suffering. The next step's the easiest one and the hardest one. Stop suffering by dealing with your fucking drug problem.
Yeah.
Dealing with the drug problem is one of the easiest things in the world if you commit to it. It sounds very callous, but I've been there. You've probably been there. You can always make the choice.
Where do you think that
step off the path? And it's not going to be fields full of fucking roses and puppies. It's going to be jagged and it's going to be hard and it's going to be rough and it's going to feel like shit.
Yeah,
but you got to focus on the goal.
Yeah.
Like marathon runners know it's, marathon. Every fucking marathon runner knows when they start off they're going to feel great, and they're going to go through absolute hell. Doesn't matter how good you are at a marathon, right? You're going to go through hell to get to the end goal.
What is the goal for you?
The goal for me is to maintain basically, I'm happy. I don't have a current goal. I'm fairly fucking happy. I want to. Yeah, I'm just fairly fucking happy.
Yeah.
I'm not. I've stopped chasing things. I've stopped chasing things, and I'm more happy to accept things that are coming.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few things that make me very happy, and they're there, and I can't see in my life currently. My fucking dog, I know he's going to die. That makes me sad thinking forward to that point. I choose not to think forward to that point. I'm enjoying my life currently. I'm enjoying my life.
You're present.
Therefore, if I keep projecting further down the road and putting goals, like crazy goals like you do when you're younger, and you're always striving for that, so you're always working forward, which is it's admirable. Yeah. You're always working for them goals, but
I think it's an important message what you're saying is being present, just being here now and being
they're the words,
grateful for it.
They're the words. Being
but
present.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Because for sure, looking back can be a nightmare, and looking forward can be a nightmare. And now is fucking great. And when your now is not being great, just to ride it out. That's how I look at my mental health. Some days are shit, and that's okay. Because when the days are good, they're good, right?
It's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
It's okay to be sad.
It's okay to have mental health issues as well.
I
mean, one thing is having mental health issues, and then another thing is having mental health issues and then trying to fight it off or resist it. It's a part of your life sometimes.
Also allowing your mental health issues to be all consuming, focusing on if we've all done it, and I'm going to say I've seen you do it sometimes, where you focus on that particular problem that you're having.
Absolutely.
I mean, that just becomes part of the package that you are. But putting things on the right shelf.
Yeah. This is
not a me problem. This is just a problem.
Yeah.
Me is the overall bookshelf.
Yeah.
That particular mental health is just a part of the book. It's part of that makes me up. Instead of letting it consume everything, you need to occasionally just go, right, I'm not going to think about it. I'll put that one back on the bookshelf.
Yeah.
And I'll pull a little happy one out for a little bit, and we'll get back to reading the rest of that book in a bit when I have more experience about dealing with it. That's the way I deal with it anyway. There's still several things I work on within myself, but currently they're on the bookshelf.
Yeah, and
because I don't have that experience yet, or I don't have that willingness to open it back up, and I don't feel the need to open it back up. Maybe I never will open it back up because it's in my past, and that's not the direction of my travel, And every time I've ever focused on anything behind me, I end up tripping up going forwards. If you're always looking behind you at stuff, you're going to walk into a wall eventually going forward.
Yeah.
It's a bit, it all sounds very cheesy, but it's all very, sense. Very true.
Fraser.
It's all very true.
It's been a fucking pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me over into you.
It's been good, man.
Yeah, a little fantastic.
It happens quick. It finishes too quickly.
Yeah, I'm very sad actually.
But we're gonna do more.
Let's do this again
later on in the
Christmas.
year. Later on in the year, I'm hoping about summertime. I want to organize an episode where I've got quite a big chunk of the people in the past episodes, but all together around the table, so we can do like a group episode.
Oh, please! Please, if I could be involved in that, that would be fantastic.
I hope you'll be there.
That would be fantastic.
Be great.
Because that's a learning experience right there.
Yeah, for all of us.
That's a learning experience
for all
right
of
there.
us.
Humility.
Nice one. Thank you for being on. Cheers.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
pressure in the media tonight. Yeah, but the music got me feeling just fine. Yeah, real pressure in the media tonight. Yeah, but the music got me